Hello, welcome. In this video, we will take a look at Anglo-Afghan relations. Generally, in the recent times, Afghanistan under the siege, under the control of Taliban. In this perspective, you may see about the major geography of the Afghanistan, important cities of the Afghanistan, what India has been invested in the Afghanistan. But one of the also important angle you have to see in this perspective is from the perspective of history you have to see. Uh, in that way, we come across some of the important happenings that occur when British has been ruling India. That is the so-called Anglo-Afghan wars occur in three perspectives. When coming to the Anglo-Afghan relations, the British ruling India and the Afghanistan, thereby encompassing its rule there, uh, in so in that perspective, what the Anglo-Afghan relations has been developed, how it gone away, and who are the viceroys of the India, British India, then how they lead the policies, and all these things we will take a look at. Coming to the important things first, in the early 19th century, Russian influence in the Persia, that is present day Iran region, replaced the British influence and thwarted an English scheme for establishment of new routes by river Euphrates to India. That means Russia, who has been an imperialistic, then apart from the British, which was ruling the Persia region, in the Persia region, British dominance was there previously, but it was then replaced by the Russia. Russia has been occupying almost total of the Asia, including the Russia. It is coming towards the now it will come towards the India, Afghanistan, and Southeast Asia region also. Here, British want to control the expansion of the Russia. That is, English got alarmed about the possible Russian plans regarding to the India. Soon there was a search for scientific frontier to attack to the Indian side. The only frontier that any country have to enter India was northwest passes, mountain passes of the northwest region, including the Hindu Kush mountain ranges and Himalayan passes, all these things. The need felt for the Afghanistan to under control a friendly ruler of the British. That's why Afghanistan not being under the control of the British, there is a need to be a friendly ruler for the British to not to expand more into the India in order to prevent from the so-called Russia. In such a perspective, what Britain had done, what has it taken the policies, all with all these things we will see in major three categories. What is the three categories are? The first one is forward policy of the Auckland. Who is this Auckland? The then Governor General of the British India in 1836. He advocated a forward policy. What all this forward policy means? When an enemy tries to occupy your land, in such a scenario, before the enemy enters into the your land, you have to take a preventive step by going beyond, make a treaty with the enemy by using a friendly relationship or by using a buffer state, or you can completely occupy the enemy, or you can completely occupy the so-called buffer state in order to prevent the expansion. It is the forward policy. Forward policy is nothing but thinking one step before than the enemy. That's all. It was advocated by the Auckland, who is the Governor General of India then in 1836. This is the all history about. And coming to the second plan, the policy of the masterly inactivity. The policy of the masterly inactivity. It was proposed by John Lawrence. He is the Viceroy of the India. The first governor of Bengal, then came the post of the Governor General of India, and then came the Viceroy, so-called Viceroy, the head of the Indian state. Then the John Lawrence, who proposed the policy of masterly inactivity. After in the first Anglo-Afghan war, British has lost devastatingly, and it lost nearly 1.5 crore rupees in the war, and it lost 20,000 men. In such a scenario, the so-called John Lawrence, who followed a practical common sense and with a intimate knowledge of frontier problem, thus he followed the policy of masterly inactivity. Just be silent for some time, and for the time have to happen, then we have to take any action. For that purpose, whenever the time came, till then no activity has to be done. Just inactive and made a friendly relationship. Let it be whatever the things happen, until the thing happen to you, just be silent. That is the policy of masterly inactivity. And coming to the policy of proud reserve, it is followed by the Lytton, who came after the John Lawrence. He is the Viceroy of then so-called India. Under him, a new foreign policy called Proud Reserve has been established. It aimed at having scientific frontiers and safeguarding the spheres of their influence. Policy of Proud Reserve is generally reserving your frontiers with by using scientific managements, that way safeguarding your spheres of the influence. This is so-called policy of Proud Reserve by the Lytton. These are about the three policies. The first one is the forward policy of the Auckland. Second one is the policy of masterly inactivity by John Lawrence, and third one is the policy of Proud Reserve by Lytton. This was the three viceroys and three ideologies implemented in such a situation. Now we will go into the overall matter. What happened and how it happened. Remember the names of the viceroys. It may ask in the prelims. Auckland, John Lawrence and Lytton, who were then the Governor General and Viceroys of the British India. Auckland, who elected as Governor General of India in 1836, he came and made an objective to make a friendly relationship with the so-called Afghanistan. But what happened the things here? To protect the boundary of the British India from the probable Russian attack. This objective either achieved through making a treaty with the neighboring countries to establish a friendly relationship, or by annexing them completely if they don't accept the so-called treaty. Then Amir of the Afghanistan, so-called king of the Afghanistan, was Dost Muhammad. He is the Amir of the Afghanistan. Then he wanted British friendship, but made it conditional. The friendship of the British by then ruler of the Afghanistan, Dost Muhammad, made condition of the British to make a friendship with the British. What's the condition here is, we want to recover Peshawar, a strategic town somewhat related between the Punjab and the Afghanistan areas. It was occupied by the Sikhs then, under the control of so-called Ranjit Singh. The Peshawar town has been occupied by the Sikhs. Now Dost Muhammad wanted that town, made it conditional to make the friendship with the British. But this so-called proposal has been rejected by the British government in India. Dost Muhammad now turned towards the Russia and the Persia for the same help. Dost Muhammad now putting away the British apart, he want to take the support of the Russia and Persia to establish his power there. In such a way, British government want to go ahead away with the forward policy and want to establish stronghold to annex the total of the Afghanistan. Here the two things are there. By making a treaty, by using friendship, first one is failed. Now only left is annexing completely. Second one. In such a scenario, Shah Shuja, who was a ruler of the Afghanistan previously before the Dost Muhammad, he has been deposed from the Afghan from his throne in 1809. Since then, he was living as a pensioner at the Ludhiana under the British. Now, British, what they want to do is by making a treaty with the Shah Shuja and with the support of the some military support of the Sikhs, by using this tripartite alliance, want to attack the Afghanistan's Dost Muhammad and establish a stronghold there. By using this tripartite treaty between the Sikhs, Shah Shuja and the British, what the treaty provided means Shah Shuja to be enthroned. That means he will be put on the throne again by replacing the Dost Muhammad if they win the war. With the armored help of the Sikhs, the company just remain in the background, just supplying, acts as a money bag, that's all. Only the British does not involve its army, just it will give the money by using the help of the army of the Sikhs. It will put a generally throw a some of the things, that's all. Shah Shuja conducted foreign affairs with the advice of the Sikhs and the British. Here, if he will sit on the throne of the Afghanistan, he must have to take any foreign affairs relations with the help of only with the advice of the Sikhs and the British. Shah Shuja give up his sovereign rights over the amirs of the Sindh in return of the large money. If he will sit on the throne of the Afghanistan, he have to give away his rights over the Sindh. For that purpose, British will give him large sum of the money. These are the things. And Shah Shuja will recognize, must have to recognize Sikh ruler Maharaja Ranjit Singh over claims over Afghan territories on the right bank of the Indus River. What here is Maharaja Ranjit Singh by supporting, Sikhs are supporting militarily, right? They want something. That's why only they have to invest. They want to invest in this war. Then what is the profit for them to just giving the military support? What they want, Maharaja Ranjit Singh want Afghan territories which are situated right bank of the Indus River. They want to control them under the Sikh rule. For then, Shah Shuja, if he will get enthroned, he want to give away these territories to the Maharaja Ranjit Singh. These are the conditions put forth by the British. And now came the first Anglo-Afghan War in 1839 to 1842 under the so-called British Sikhs and the Shah Shuja. Soon after the tripartite treaty of 1838 has been signed, a drastic political change has been occurred. Russia got somewhat involved in it. Persia got lifted his siege on the Herat, and so British decided to go ahead with their forward policy. This resulted in the first Afghan war. The British intention was to establish a permanent barrier against the schemes of aggression from the northwest into the India. English army entered triumphantly into the Afghanistan, and a successful attack has been taken place. Most of the tribes present there have been won over by the giving away the some of the bribes and money, and Dost Muhammad surrendered in 1840, and Shah Suja finally made the Amir of the Afghanistan. Now what happened? A political turmoil take place. What is this means? Afghans, the civilian Afghan population rose in rebellion, killing the garrison commander of the Britain in the Kabul, and the British compelled to sign a treaty in the 1841 by this so-called rebellion. Now they made a treaty with all Afghan chiefs and agreed to evacuate the Afghanistan by then and restore the Dost Muhammad again as the Amir of the Afghanistan. But the English plan has been failed. Under a new expedition, again British reoccupied the Kabul city in September 1842, but they learned their lesson well and arrived at a settlement with the Dost Muhammad finally, by which they evacuated from the Kabul and recognized Dost Muhammad as the independent ruler of the Afghanistan. Thus, with no use at all, British had lost in the first Anglo-Afghan war an amount of 1.5 crore rupees and also lost 20,000 men in the war. This is all about the first Anglo-Afghan war. And coming to the John Lawrence policy of masterly inactivity, what he want? Just to make inactive, that's all. Even when the Dost Muhammad died in 1863, there was no interference in the war of the succession. Lawrence policy rested just on the fulfillment of the two of the conditions. The first one is peace at the frontier has not to be disturbed, and no candidature in the civil war sought the foreign help. To establish a perfect, when the Dost Muhammad has been died, in order to evolve a candidate for the ruler in the civil war, there will not be any foreign intervention. And this first one is there will not be no disturbance for the peace at the borders. That's all. Then we can avoid some of the things happening from the expansion. And Sher Ali has been established, who is the so-called inherited ruler, son of the Dost Muhammad, became the Amir of the Afghanistan, and Lawrence tried to cultivate friendship with him. That's all. And then come the Lytton, a nominee of the conservative government, become the Viceroy of the India in 1876. He started a new foreign policy called Proud Reserve, which was aimed at having scientific frontiers and safeguarding the spheres of our influence by using scientific management and safeguarding our spheres of influence of the frontiers. That's all. According to the Lytton, relations with the Afghanistan to no longer left ambiguous. That means no longer left confusing. We want to make a strong decision. Lytton made an offer favorable to the treaty for the Amir of the Afghanistan, so-called Sher Ali. He wanted to friendship with both his powerful neighbors. Sher Ali wanted to, the ruler of Afghanistan, Sher Ali, wanted a strong friendship with both Russia and the British while keeping both at the arm's length, not allowing each one into him, but having some sort of friendly relationship. Just doing away with both of them set aside, that's all. Keeping them at an arm's length, he is just sitting stably middle, that's all. Not bending towards anyone. Later, Sher Ali refused to keep British envoy in Kabul, while having earlier granted similar concession to the Russians. By placing Russians in the envy of the Kabul, now he wanted to Britain to evacuate from the Kabul envoy. Now what happens? Lytton has been displaced with the so-called situation by giving away somewhat concession to the Russians and thrown away the Britain from him. He want to Lytton Viceroy want to decide to invade the Afghanistan. Sher Ali now fled to the Sher Ali now fled in face of the British invasion, and a Treaty of Gandamak has been signed with the Yaqub Khan, who is the eldest son of the Sher Ali. What is this so-called Treaty of Gandamak? It has signed in 1879. When the Lytton has been elected as Viceroy in 1876. Soon after 3 years, the Treaty of Gandamak has signed in 1879. The treaty signed after the Second Anglo-Afghan War. Amir conducted his foreign policy only with the advice of the Government of India, so-called British Government of India. Permanent British resident to be stationed in the Kabul to look over foreign policies and advancement happening in the Afghanistan. Government of India will give Amir all supports against the foreign aggression with and also give an annual subsidy. But soon Yaqub has been abdicated under the popular pressure, and the British has to recapture Kabul and the Kandahar. In such a scenario, Abdur Rahman, who became new Amir, Lytton chalked out a plan for the dismemberment of the Afghanistan, but it could not carry out. And now Ripon, who is the new viceroy, abandoned this plan and decided on a policy of keeping Afghanistan as just a buffer state. After First World War, Russian Revolution in 1817, Afghans demanded full independence. Habibullah was killed in 1919 and new ruler Amanullah declared open war on the British. Peace came in 1921 when the Afghanistan recovered independence from its foreign affairs. Finally, Afghanistan in 1921 became free from having its foreign affairs. British India and the successive Indian rulers tried to reach out region between the Indus and Afghanistan in the northwest, so-called scientific frontier. The conquest of the Sindh and annexation of the Punjab carried by the British boundaries beyond the Indus brought them in contact with the Baluch and the Pathan tribes, who were mostly independent, but the Amir of the Afghanistan claimed some of the nominal suzerainty over them. During 1891 and 92, British occupation on the Hunja, a nagar of the Gilgit Valley, where the passes commanding communications with the Chitral alarmed the Abdur Rahman. A compromise was finally reached by drawing a boundary line called Durand line finally has been drawn between the Afghan and the British territories, British India territories. That's why this so-called Durand line has been came. Now this Durand line separates the Pakistan from the Afghanistan. Just a small portion of the Durand line exists with the India, that is the Pak occupied Kashmir has sharing some of the border with the Afghanistan. That line is the only Durand line that shares with the India. Amir received some of the districts and his subsidy was increased from the Britain, but the Durand agreement failed to keep peace, and soon after tribal uprisings have been taken place. To check this, a permanent British garrison was established at Chitral and troops posted to guard Malaccan Pass there. But a tribal uprising continued till 1898. Curzon, Lord Curzon, who is the viceroy in 1899 and 1905, followed a policy of withdrawal and concentration. British troops withdraw from the advanced posts, which were replaced by the tribal levies, then commanded by the British officers. He also encouraged tribals to maintain the peace, and he created Northwest Frontier Province directly under the government of the India, thus making the tribes there and making friendly relationship with them and putting control under the government of India under the Lord Curzon, made Northwest Frontier under the British control. Earlier, it was under the control of the Lieutenant Governor of the Punjab. Overall, Curzon policy resulted in the peaceful Northwest Frontier. Finally, the peaceful conditions continued till after there, with the occasional tribal uprisings till and then. These were common. And January 1932, it was announced that Northwest Frontier Province was to be constituted as Governor's Province finally in 1932, and since then 1947 the province has belongs to the Pakistan. Pak got this Northwest Frontier Province finally. This is the situation of the so-called strategic Northwest Frontier and the Anglo-Afghan wars and the so-called Lytton policy of Proud Reserve and John Lawrence policy of masterly inactivity and so-called Auckland's policy of forward policy. That's all. This is all about the historical perspective of the Anglo-Afghan relations or Indo-Afghan relations. That's all. Thank you.